My name is Gupta, and I'm going to speak to you today about a new idea of India and why we require one. But obviously, to understand a new idea of India, we first need to understand what is by now the old idea of India, or what is known as the Nehruvian idea of India, capital I, capital O, capital I. It is the unofficial state ideology of India. So, what is the Nehruvian idea of India? The Nehruvian idea of India was about group rights and not individual rights per se when it came to the citizens of India in a state that was civilizationally shy. Let me repeat. The Nehruvian idea of India was about seeing citizens as members of groups, be it by caste, be it by religion, be it by any other demographic, in a state that, whether it actually was or not, we'll come to it, seemed to portray itself as being either civilizationally not aware of its antecedents or civilizationally shy or diffident. The new idea of India that I will go and speak about is about individual rights for Indian citizens in a civilizational nation state. Not just in any nation state, but in a civilizational nation state. Yet, at the same time, talking about individual rights. So there's an element of squaring the circle here, which I would love to explore along with your feedback. So just let's go back to what happened in 1947. India became free after 150, 200 years of British colonial rule, but simultaneously there was a partition of India. In many ways, you can say it was not but there was a partition of India, it was because the partition of India was agreed to, that's why India became free. That's a historically revisionist view, but it might be interesting to consider. Because once the pre-colonial Hindu-Muslim problem found some settlement, could only the Brits be agreed to be pushed out, of course, along with other reasons of World War II and Gandhi's movement, Subhash Chandra Bose's movement, and so on and so forth. Before independence, Nehru's Congress in the 1937 elections, once they swept all the general seats, there were separate reserved seats for Muslims, refused to have any truck with the Muslim League in the UP after the elections, in the Uttar Pradesh. And just like the Sachar Committee report were produced decades later in Free India, then there was a Pirpur report, partially correct about the disadvantages and prejudices faced by Indian Muslims, but partially also atrocity literature. But when Nehru took a position that, wait a second, I don't believe that the Muslim League is somehow the authentic representative of Muslims. My party, the Congress Party, is genuinely secular, etc., etc. It was an interesting, nonetheless principled point of view. In 1947, what the Cabinet Mission Plan had proposed kind of a decentralized India into three groupings based on two Muslim majority provinces in the northwest and the northeast, and the rest of the provinces into what became India. The only difference was the groupings would have undivided Punjab there and undivided Bengal in the east. And again, Nehru said that I want a centralized state, and I think he was right to say that, so was Patel. I think Gandhi was the only holdout. But it was mentioned as a point of principle that we cannot create a secular state if we have separate voting by religion, if we have provinces and groupings by religion. So it's kind of like, to use a bit of a harsh language here, there are cancerous parts of the body that need to be amputated, and let's just take the pain. Fine, you can agree with that point of view, and there are some people on the so-called Hindu right who believe in Akhand Bharat, and they might be right or wrong about that, but there was a certain consistency to the view. However, as soon as India became independent, and we had our own constitution, how did Mr. Nehru now govern India? So he governed India this time not by going for individual rights. He governed India by going for group rights. Precisely what he fought against and used as justification to accept the poison pill of partition. So he, in the 1950s, based on Ambedkar's bill, Ambedkar had eventually resigned by then, Nehru passed the Hindu Reform Code bills, right, which made it more gender equal. It is a work in progress when it comes to marriage, it comes to divorce, it comes to inheritance. But he did not do that to India's largest religious minority, the Indian Muslims. And in fact, Acharya Kriplani, if I'm not wrong, who was a congressman, got up in parliament and told Mr. Nehru that I accuse you of communalism. You take it from me that the Indian Muslim community is ready for this, but you are not doing it. Now, whatever Mr. Nehru's intentions might have been, realpolitik, genuine confusion in his mind, the result was we ended up having an Ottoman millet system. What is the Ottoman millet system? The Ottoman Empire had millets. There's obviously the Sunni Muslim millet, there was maybe the Shia Muslim millet, but there was the Christian millet, there was the Jewish millet, and they had their own rules and laws. And their own taxation, except in a way, they didn't have any welfare state. So in India, we ended up saying we are all one nation, we'll have one kind of welfare state, we'll have one kind of normative understanding of nationalism, but when it cuts really close to the bone, to your family and religious matters, we are not actually really one. And that has had a pernicious influence through India's polity to this day, whose wrongs we are still in the very early process of reversing. And this is something really worth cogitating over, because again, the stated ideals were humanism, liberalism, secularism, which all, even we accept them as Western ideologies. We're not even talking about Indian thought and impulses such as dharma and so forth right now. But the basic of those ideologies was individual rights. And by saying that, a Muslim woman would have no say if her husband is ready to have 3 more wives, or if she is allowed to face triple talaq till very recently, or nikah halala, or underage marriages, or a ban on adoption, while they're Indian citizens, while you are forcing the majority community towards progress, and good on that, it shows a dichotomous view of the Indian polity that could not sustain, and which I think was a large part of the reason for the rise of the BJP.